Markets around the world have taken a beating for a second day running over fears that Donald Trump's new tariffs could trigger a worldwide trade war. In New York, the Dow lost nearly 5% compared to Thursday's dismal close, dropping well below 40,000 points for the first time since August. Meanwhile, the biggest target of Trump's tariffs is hitting back. China says that it will match the U.S. tariffs on Chinese goods 1-to-1.
China announces retaliatory tariffs against the U.S. on state TV. A 34% tax on all American goods will take effect next Thursday. It comes after the U.S. announced sweeping tariffs on imports from nations across the world. Washington listed China as one of its so-called worst offenders for trade imbalances. Some Chinese consumers say the tariffs will likely impact their buying habits.
I used to buy some American products, but if the price goes up, I might buy fewer.
Many Chinese electronics are quite impressive, so I may consider changing to Japanese, Korean, or domestic products.
On Truth Social, U.S. President Donald Trump hit back at Beijing's tariffs, writing, "China played it wrong. They panicked. The one thing they cannot afford to do." U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio says that markets will adjust to Trump's tariffs. Speaking in Brussels, he said that a global trade reset is needed.
We have to be a country that thinks we're the largest consumer market in the world, and yet the only thing we export is services. And we need to stop that. We need to get back to a time where we're a country that can make things, and to do that, we have to reset the global order of trade.
Trump claims the tariffs will boost the U.S. economy in the long run, but critics predict the opposite. The total levy on Chinese goods sold in the U.S. now stands at 54%. Beijing has filed a complaint with the World Trade Organization. Global markets are rattled as the standoff between the world's top economies intensifies.
Well, I'm joined now by George Magnus. He's an economist at the China Center at Oxford University. Mr. Magnus, it's good to have you with us this evening. I want to bring up a post that U.S. President Trump posted on his Truth Social earlier today when he heard about the Chinese tariffs. He wrote, "China played it wrong. They panicked. The one thing they cannot afford to do." Let me ask you, how do you read this? Are we seeing here China panicking?
No, I wouldn't say it's a panic announcement measure. I would say that the tit for tat, which they did announce, along with several other measures that are aimed at U.S. companies or exports to the United States, speaks two things to me. One is pique. They are really angry at the United States and what they call unilateral bullying, which is how they describe Trump's tariff strategy. And it's a call to arms, I think, to other countries to join with China in standing up to the United States. So, is it a panic? I mean, it's certainly unexpected. I don't think people expected the Chinese reaction to be quite as escalatory as it turns out to be. And it kind of puts off, I think, for the time being, any hope of a deal between America and China that might pacify things for a while.
Yeah, we're seeing here now this trade conflict between the world's two largest economies. I'm wondering, how risky is it right now, would you say, for U.S. President Donald Trump? Is he overplaying his hand here?
Well, that is the $64,000 question. I mean, I think, if we had to rationalize anything about what the President Trump has announced, it's kind of echoes the clip that you showed just now from Marco Rubio, which is they are trying to reorder the global trading system, and in particular to break up the China-centric supply chains, which have been created over the last 25 years. So what Trump is really after is he wants multinational companies and global firms to relocate and produce in the United States. So the question really is he overplaying his hand? I mean, that's in and of itself, that's not really an unreasonable thing, to suggest that you might want to do. But is he overplaying his hand in terms of the method and the strategy? And I think Most economists would say yes, that there's a serious danger that this could blow up and certainly lead to serious economic consequences, not just in the United States, but for other countries, including China as well.
Let me ask you, too, if we look at the past, China has been able to bypass U.S. tariffs by simply moving parts of its supply chains to other countries in Southeast Asia, Vietnam, for example. It can't do that now with these new tariffs. These new tariffs are global. So is China now in a worse position than maybe they would admit publicly?
Yeah, that's a great question, because actually, if you look at all the kind of countries listed on President Trump's kind of billboard that he paraded in the Rose Garden, some of the highest tariffs, apart from China, are being levied, as you say, against Vietnam, but also Cambodia, Bangladesh, Thailand, Indonesia. So these are all countries that figure prominently in the what I call the China-centric supply chains, but also the transshipment of Chinese goods. In other words, goods that are basically shipped to other countries and in turn to the United States, say, to either obfuscate or hide country of origin or to evade sanctions or controls and so on. So in this sense, I think it's going to be much more difficult for China to use the supply chain network to avoid tariffs than it found, let's say, in 2017-18.
Mm-hmm. And considering all of this, how likely is it, do you think, that China is going to seek new trade agreements with the European Union, for example? I mean, is Donald Trump, is he pushing the Chinese and the Europeans closer together? Is this the end of de-risking for the Europeans?
Well, that's a complicated issue, and I'm not sure that I know the full answer to that just yet. I mean, it's certainly true that Europeans and others, including in Asia and Latin America, for example, will be looking at the kind of consequences of these tariffs and trying to figure out that if they can't or don't want to trade as much with the United States because of those tariffs, will they, inch closer or move closer towards China? And ostensibly, the answer might be yes, why not? Because they have common cause in a way. But actually, if you look at the plumbing of the international trading system, it's really, really awkward because the Chinese are not really interested in importing other people's products, and they will not take the place of the enormous consumer imports which the Americans give, in a way, to the world. The Chinese are only interested in exporting stuff. And the Europeans and lots of others already have big problems in dumping and other investigations of non-competitive practices by Chinese exporters. So I'm not sure how much success this, ostensible kind of reaction is going to have, actually.
George Magnus with the China Center at Oxford University. Mr. Magnus, we appreciate your time and your valuable insights tonight. Thank you.